Good morning. Welcome to the morning forecast discussion for September 22nd, 2011. Of course, I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino, and we are dealing with an area of scattered showers and plenty of fog throughout the northern mid-Atlantic. Now, I warned yesterday that fog is going to be a continuing threat for every morning on through this weekend and into early next week. And the reason why is because we have a ton of low level moisture just sitting over the northern mid Atlantic, whether you're in the Philadelphia metro, the New York City metro, even all the way as far north as the Boston metropolitan area. You're just going to be dealing with a tremendous amount of low level moisture, and that, of course, means fog because winds are relatively light. The other threat, of course, will be the threat for scattered showers for today. Now, these showers, although widely scattered, are capable of producing some very heavy downpours in a very short period of time and reduce visibility very quickly to below 2 miles in some locations. But there's more rainfall on the way, and unfortunately, it looks like it could be quite a bit, and it could lead to some significant flash flooding. Let's take a look at the water vapor satellite picture, and you can see our upper level low starting to take shape. It was over parts of the western Great Lakes and southern Canada this morning. It is dropping south and east and redeveloping and reformatting into a solid upper level low, a consolidated upper level low that will sit around the Ohio River Valley starting tomorrow morning and continuing on for the next several days, at least until Tuesday. In the meantime, look at all this moisture along the east coast, and it goes back all the way into the Gulf of Mexico, and we're starting to get some moisture also moving in from the Bahamas. So we have a lot of deep tropical moisture pooling over the southeast and racing up the coast towards the Philadelphia and New York City metropolitan area. Meanwhile, we have a weakening cold front that really won't produce much in the way of an air mass change, but it will produce a focusing mechanism for disturbances to move up along the coast and produce periods of heavy rainfall, which we'll see in the model guidance in just a moment. But I wanted to also point out that this upper level low is just starting to develop. And you can already see the lifting from some of these disturbances around this upper level low, and you can already see the strong moisture advection or transport developing along the east coast that's going to be capable of producing very heavy rainfall. In fact, I want to show you 850 millibar moisture transport. And this moisture transport is relatively weak, but notice it's starting to organize itself along the mid-Atlantic coast. I think what we'll see is strong moisture transport right in this location, right along the New Jersey coast, up through Long Island and into Connecticut, where you'll get moderate to heavy rain from eastern Pennsylvania, especially along the Delaware River Valley, on east through Connecticut, starting tomorrow and continuing on through the weekend and into Monday morning. Now, this won't be a continuous heavy rain event, and I'll show in the model guidance exactly why that won't be the case. What we're looking for are waves of heavy rain, followed by a break, and then another wave of heavy rain, and then another break, and so on and so forth, with each passing disturbance, like this one here, this one here, this one developing here. You can see exactly where these disturbances are developing, and they'll come from the southwest and move to the northeast through the northern mid-Atlantic over the next several days. As far as the HPC forecast, they backed off on this 7-inch total, and I'm not really that surprised. I haven't been really that strong with the idea of a widespread 7-inch rainfall along the New Jersey coast. Right now, what this is about 2.5 to 3 inches in this shading, and then 1 to 3 inches in this area right here. This is 1.5 to 2 inches in this location from northeastern Pennsylvania through northern New Jersey, and also much of Connecticut. But really, the forecast I've been having is about 2 to 4 inches throughout the entire northern mid-Atlantic, with a few locations capable of getting much more rainfall than that. And the reason why is because we're dealing with a tropical air mass. And if you get one of these elevated thunderstorms to sit over your location and train over your location for several hours, instead of ending up with 2 inches or 3 inches, you could end up with 5 or 6 inches. It isn't a widespread threat, but it's an isolated one that has to be considered. And if it does develop over your location, be prepared for significant flash flooding Whether you are in an urban location or you're by one of these already stressed rivers in the Delaware, Raritan, or Passaic River valleys, even the Housatonic River Valley and parts of the Lehigh and Susquehanna River valleys are going to be under a threat for flash flooding because of not only the rainfall here, but the rainfall we've been receiving the past 60 days, which is anywhere from 600 to 800% above normal for this time of year. So clearly we are dealing with a very stressed and saturated water table throughout the northern mid-Atlantic, and this heavy rainfall will not help. Now let me just show you the model guidance here. Now I want to put a word of caution here with the model guidance, whether you're using the GFS or the European model guidance. There's a big storm that is developing in the Gulf of Alaska, and there's also an interaction with that storm with what was Typhoon Roke that hit Japan. And the model guidance, all the model guidance are having a significant problem with analyzing and breaking down the influences of that tropical low with the storm that's currently in the Gulf of Alaska. And as a result, each one of these model guidances for the medium and long range are a bit out of whack. And when you consider that factor, you have to use a little bit of teleconnection rules and go a little bit beyond just what the model guidance is suggesting. So I'll show you what I mean in just a moment. So going into this afternoon, we still have the scattered showers sitting over the northern mid-Atlantic. We have a few disturbances moving through, but they're not really that strong or organized yet because our upper level low hasn't consolidated yet. Going into tonight, we see our upper level low starting to finally consolidate and intensify. As a result, notice the disturbances along the southern mid-Atlantic are starting to organize and intensify as the lifting increases. Moving forward, boom, we have a huge amount of lifting along the east coast, a very strong disturbance. Our upper level low is consolidated and starting to move towards the Ohio River Valley finally. And as a result, we get, now remember that cold front that was approaching. Now we have all these waves of low pressure basically stalled along this washed out cold front boundary. And as a result, we have a tremendous amount of moisture sitting over the northern mid-Atlantic, and we have heavy rainfall sitting over the northern mid-Atlantic with rainfall amounts of a half an inch to an inch per hour very easily with this rainfall. Model guidance, especially global model guidance, does not handle tropical rainfall very well. So I expect bullseyes in some of these forecasts here for the QPF. Just know that tomorrow morning, starting around 8 a.m. on through tomorrow afternoon, look for periods of very heavy rainfall. And that heavy rainfall will continue on through the evening as this disturbance lifts north and east. As you can see, by tomorrow evening, that disturbance is moving into New England. We still have periods of heavy rain on through about 8 p.m., but that will be leaving from the southwest to northeast. We end up with a bit of a break in the evening hours, let's say after 8 p.m. We end up with a bit of a break, which will allow, by the way, for those of you worried about the Yankee game on Friday with the Boston Red Sox, could have a delay, but then you'll end up with a break for a good 4 to 5 hours that should be able to get your game in. It'll be soggy, it'll be wet, but you'll be able to play. Now moving forward into the weekend, more disturbances are rotating around this upper level low here and here and here and here. And there's even one out here trying to pull in moisture from the Bahamas. And as a result, we get this rainfall coming in off the Atlantic Ocean. We'll have southeasterly winds. Now the winds won't be all that strong. Notice the pressure gradient is pretty weak, but we will be dealing with more periods of rain, likely starting late Saturday morning on through Saturday afternoon and into the early evening hours. Then we end up with another break for Saturday night. So if you have plans Saturday night, go out, bring an umbrella, but it won't be a total washout. And then on Sunday, same situation again. More disturbances approaching the northern mid-Atlantic. A better chance for rainfall more towards eastern and central Pennsylvania, as it appears that that's where the lifting is going to be located. But again, even locations along the coast will still have a good chance of seeing rain. Now, remember what I mentioned earlier about the Gulf of Alaska and the Pacific, and there's a lot of uncertainty? Well, that uncertainty means that this upper level low is now forecasted to hang around through Wednesday. I'm not sure if I buy that just yet. You see this disturbance right here? Well, it basically tries to break off, and as we move forward in the forecast here, it tries to break off and form another upper level low around Texas. Now, as much as I'm sure Texas could use the rain and some cooler temperatures, I have some doubts on exactly this evolution of the pattern. We'll have to see. A lot of this has to depend on exactly what happens in the Pacific and where this trough in the Pacific sets up, whether it supports a huge ridge and then a trough in the east, or if it tries to drive a trough into the west coast, which produces a ridge over the United States, over the central and eastern United States, which means that this upper level low just continues to meander about. Right now, I am going with a forecast where, based on teleconnections of a tropical system moving off of Japan, usually leads to a trough downstream in about 10 days. So we're about 4 days past that, well, actually 3 days past that recurvature. So at this point, I like the idea of this upper level low by Tuesday being picked up by a trough that is, you could just barely see it here. Rather than having it cut off into an upper level low here, it produces a deeper trough, kicks this out, and sends it off into the northern Atlantic with clearing conditions by Wednesday, rather than the forecast that we see here, with scattered showers on Wednesday. But eventually we will clear out for the second half of next week with temperatures near normal and some sunny skies. I'm your meteorologist, Stephen DiMartino. Thank you for trusting in NYNJPA weather for your severe weather forecasts. You can always follow NYNJPA weather, especially about all this flooding rain, on Twitter, Facebook, and of course at NYNJPAweather.com. Have a good day. Stay safe out there.